But so this is part of, something that we say in loans, with our diets, with everything. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
And that's life.
And then you got to smell it.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Welcome to the LO Code Podcast, where we talk about everything from marketing to just general loan bullshit. All right, Jessica, today we are going to be talking about goal setting for 2023 so that we can crush it in the new year.
Yes. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was why people's goals why people don't succeed, why their goals fail, because only 9% of goals that are set, not just resolutions, but goals in general, only 9% of people actually reach their goals by the end of the year.
I can talk on this well because I fail a lot.
A lot. But if you think about
why.
it, yes, if you think about it, I would have to say that we reach 80% of our goals, and the other 20% is maybe we overshot, which isn't a bad thing.
Right.
Or we decided that it was no longer aligned. It's rarely because we weren't prepared, we didn't put in the work. It's more of just we kind of changed our mind.
Right. Well, here's the main reasons why people don't reach their goals. So the first one is they don't set a clear goal, like exactly what they want to achieve.
Yes.
And then let's say they do that. The next thing is they don't put in the roadmap of what needs to be done to reach that goal. They just go, hey, I want to make $1 million. Well, what needs to happen?
On what timeline?
Right. So what needs to happen at what timeline? So that's stage 2. Stage 3 is what are the actions that have to take place to reach the framework and the timeline that are going to get me to the end goal. So you have to define your goal, exactly what you want to achieve, what has to take place to reach that goal, and what are all the actions that have to be done for all of this to come into reality.
Yeah. And I'm going to add in number 4. Figure out what your obstacles are most likely going to be in advance so that you can come up with a plan A, B, C, because they will come up. You will,
or just be prepared and not get discouraged when obstacles happen.
Yes. So, things happen where there have been days where we're like, okay, we're going to shoot all of our content this day. Stuff, shit hits the fan in this business all the time, and you have to take care of it. And I'm not going to beat myself up for not doing it. I have a plan B. There's always, okay, we'll do this day, or we'll do this instead of this. We'll pivot the quality of production maybe just to get it done. So there's always a plan B. I think we're really good at pivoting, and that is one of the things that helps us.
But it becomes a problem if it is a habit of constantly missing.
Yes.
Like your set.
Is it a real excuse? Or is it a fake excuse?
Exactly.
I'm tired is not an excuse.
Right. Or I'm too busy. Or a lot of it just comes down to planning.
Yes. Poor planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you have a bunch on your plate and you have shooting tomorrow, well, it looks like you're going to be staying up late tonight to get done what you need to get done so that you can continue on your schedule.
Yes.
A lot of people will just push it and then it throws off their entire day, maybe their entire week. Yeah. And some people never get back on schedule.
No. And you need to be real with yourself too, I think, whether or not it's actually going to be a priority. Because there are things that we even do that we know we should be doing better, and it's not a priority. So that's one
usually things that we hate. And so
we need to outsource.
Exactly. At that point, if you don't have the finances to outsource, then you have to just suck it up. But knowing that you're going to outsource it as soon as you have the financial means to do so.
Yeah, we sucked it up for a very long time and just did everything ourselves.
It's good at the things that you're not good at.
Yeah, we kind of lucked out there. Yeah. Our production definitely picked up when it was the 2 of us versus just you by yourself.
100%.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to go over, though, talking about goals being in alignment with where you want to go, is going over your last year. So I have some questions that I have kind of written down that I thought that we would go over. This is a download that will be available with this, so you don't have to worry about
there'll be
writing
a link
this down.
This video
this will
to get the PDF.
This little sheet right here. So I like to do an end of year reflection, and that helps set me up for goal setting for the next year because You don't know where you want to go unless you know where you've been.
Okay.
So one of them, what did 2022 teach me about myself? Lessons learned. 2, from last year to now, how have I grown big and small? What went well? What am I most proud of? I think that sometimes what we think will make us proud or happy, it turns out that it doesn't. So your goals will change when you find out what actually you are proud of.
Right. So a lot of people, maybe their goal is just to make more money, but then they make more money and they go, oh, I'm not really any more
I'm not
fulfilled.
digging it. Yeah.
I worked a lot more. And then you have to realign and say, is it more money that I want, or is it more time? Is it more freedom? How do I make that a priority, and how do I turn that into my goal?
Well, and that's kind of where I was with, over the last couple of years, I was mentoring, and I found that I really, really enjoyed it. That was the highlight of my year. So while I enjoyed it during the time, you're so busy that your attention gets taken away. But when I really sat back and looked at my year, I realized that that was my highlight, and that helping people was the best part. So whether I'm teaching client classes or other loan officers, that's what I enjoy. So then I can add that to my goal list for the next year. Okay, what didn't go well and why? So if you were bogged down with too many loans, maybe you didn't have enough. What were you doing wrong? What can you do to solve that for the next year? How did I cope with stress? And what can I do differently to manage it?
Yes. In this business, it's very common to drink heavily.
Yes.
It's just
I did.
It's a very common habit that leads to even more burnout because it shuts your system down. Like, alcohol is a poison. And if you have too much poison in your system, you're not going to function. Your brain's not going to function. Your body's not going to function. So then you end up being less productive. You're hungover. You're tired. It messes with your neuro system too. So then you could have anxiety. You could get depression from it. So
that was me.
It's not an easy fix because it becomes a habit and a lifestyle. But I've seen a lot of people saying, hey, one of my goals for this year is to reduce my drinking, because now people are starting to see the negative effects of it. So I'm not saying that if you're watching this, that drinking's a problem for you, but there is a possibility for a lot of people that it is causing them to not reach their goals and they're not operating at their optimal performance levels.
You don't realize it until it's too late. I think, because you can go for years and years with doing it. And then you look back and you go, if I wouldn't have done that, or if I would have hired somebody else, been less stressed out, I could have brought in so much more business, done those less stressful items.
I was pretty much a daily drinker for over a decade.
Yeah.
So at least one, cocktail or something at the end of the night. And it took me that long to realize, like, I thought in my mind, it was my jet fuel, right? Like, this is what made me relax. It gets me fired up, gets me thinking. But it's those things that we have this false perception in our mind, and we make something a reality that's not. So once I started really digging into, realize like, oh, this is a big problem in my life because it's starting to affect the way that I'm performing, and reducing that and taking periods where I just completely cut it out has definitely helped me a lot.
Well, and it's not just that. Think about the people that skip meals or eat like shit all day long because they're too busy. So I actually want to do a podcast episode on this.
That'd be good.
Because, think you eat crappy food, you're inflamed, you're tired, you're not as productive.
Right.
Health is wealth. You want to make more money? Take care of yourself. And that's just the way that it goes. So back on topic.
All right. We will do another video on optimizing
that's our
health.
jam. Running the gym. We're big on nutrition, especially holistic stuff too. So we'll have to do a whole episode because I think we can talk about that forever.
Yeah, we'll do another episode.
Yeah. Okay. Coping with stress. What do I do differently to manage it? Number 6, in what ways will I take better care of myself in 2023? So another thing, health. You cannot be as productive as you want to be if you're not taking care of yourself. What feels out of alignment? So if you look back at your whole last year, what feels like it was a struggle for you to accomplish? We always talk about now outsourcing. Let's outsource it. I don't want to do this anymore. I got to the point where I got so burned out that I didn't want to even answer my phone.
Right.
So something was out of alignment, and it took me actually months to figure out what my actual deal was. And then once I figured it out, I just outsourced it.
Another thing too, especially with social media being so huge, is I think a lot of people will get set on the wrong goals of like, I'm just putting out content. I want the views. I want the likes. I want the shares. But in reality, we want more phone calls.
Yes.
And so people aren't optimizing for the right outcome. And we'll do a whole nother podcast on this as well. And that goes back to what didn't line up. Like maybe I wasn't getting enough phone calls this past year, and it could have been that your output wasn't done correctly to get what the input you wanted.
And I know that we've talked about fake it till you make it, but if you aren't in alignment with what you're putting out, then you're not going to attract the people that you need to attract.
Right.
So,
another podcast coming up.
Another podcast. And then number 8, what do I want more or less of? You know, how are we going to pivot in this next year? So knowing all of those, reflecting on your year, now you're actually set to start working on your goals and having your goals more meaningful to you. You have to know your why. My why changes. I mean, it's always going to be my kids. It's always going to be taking care of my family,
helping
people. But, you know,
you're starting to go on like more of like a spiritual why as well. It's like where you're trying to really dig deep into your inner self.
We're so superficial. This whole world, you know, social media, that's just the way that it is. It's superficial. It's what you look like is going to, you know, what you put out there is going to put you in the direction that you want to go. So I am trying to find a way to have it all connect together. So that's one of my big goals this year, is to keep pushing through, not worry about what people think, but making sure that it's really like connecting with me.
Wonderful. Anything else?
So yeah, knowing why, blah, blah, blah. When you create your goal, okay, so you've created your goal now, and you're going to break this down. So you have your long-term goal. You're going to break it down yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. I like to go that far because I'm super organized, and knowing what I need to do every day before I wake up keeps me on my path.
Yep.
So make sure that you do that, and then you can check back in with yourself.
And in this business, if you're going to do any time blocking, it has to be before anybody opens up. So before you get phone calls for the day, whether that's 8 o'clock, whenever you start answering your phone, if you have things that need to get done that require time blocking, the only way to do that is to do it before that starts. So waking up early is huge for that. If you have a team, then you might be able to manage that.
Then they can wake up early.
Well, if their day starts at 9 and they start managing all the headache, and so you get you put out all the fires with your team, and if they're handling the day-to-day, then you might be able to time block in the middle of the day. If you do not have a team, the only way to time block in this business is before hours and after hours.
Yeah. So, you know, being in the weeds when I was still self-processing my own LOA, all of that, I didn't necessarily time block because I couldn't, but I would prioritized. So these are the tasks that get done first, second, third, and I worked my day that way so that I could take things as they came in. And I was also up at like 6 a.m. working all the time. Now I don't even know where we were.
You were just saying what the last bits were.
Yes. So when you create a goal, you're going to ask yourself these questions to make sure that it is in alignment. Again, is this congruent with the lifestyle that I want and need? Are you willing to do what it takes to reach this goal?
That's a big one.
A lot of people come up with goals and they're really lofty, which is great. But if you're not even willing to put it, most New Year's resolutions, they fail within the first 4 weeks because people create these huge goals and they either don't even want them or they're not even set up to be able to reach them. So that's huge. You know, if you want to be in the top 1%, you have to be willing to do what 99% of other people aren't willing to do.
Right.
And most people aren't willing to do that. Don't lie to yourself. That's not going to help you reach your goals. Okay, number 2, what is going to get in the way of me accomplishing my goals? Let's find the solutions now. 3, is this pushing me out of my comfort zone? Am I going to grow with this goal? You know, one of the other things, people have goals, and if you don't want to push yourself, If you want to have a year where you're just making it, that's fine. But if you want to grow, make sure that you're putting yourself in a position to grow. Don't keep saying, I want to shoot video, but I'm scared, I'm not going to do it. And you keep pushing it off.
Right.
You have to want to put yourself out there.
Right. And if you don't want to do video, that's fine. But you have to pick up that slack with other forms of marketing.
Yes.
Whether it's networking events, whether it's in-person, local events, whether it's calling realtors, meeting realtors. And ideally, you do all of it. In the ideal world, you do video, so you're online, and you do in-person, and you do phone calls, and then you just pick and choose when you do those tasks. But if you can do all of it, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else.
I think that's where it comes, it's important to get a partner. If you want to do all of those things, you're going to need some help getting the actual loans through.
100%.
Because people call during dumb times and you have to be picking up the phone. So that was the great thing about us partnering, is one of us was always available.
And if it's a chicken or an egg thing for people and they don't have a team yet, but they don't have time to do it, you have to pick your horse.
Yeah.
Whichever horse you are the most comfortable riding is what you have to do. For me, it's video, because I can go do that at any time. It could be midnight and I just come in my studio and I can crank out content and no one's going to bother me. It could be 5 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
And then that video is going to go out there and work for me. Where some people, that doesn't work for them. So that means that you have to pick the time that you're on the phones, that you're going to networking meetings.
Ugh,
and
my worst nightmare.
Just choose the one that's most in alignment with you, and then add the other ones on as you get support.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. How can I accomplish this most effectively? So I feel like that's another big problem. People have big goals. They sort of break them down, but they're not looking at how to schedule things out. I schedule out things that we're doing for almost an entire year. So getting your systems in place is huge, and make sure that you're doing things efficiently.
And you just crack the whip on me to get it done.
Yeah, I do have to. I send them emails because I'm dumb. I haven't learned my lessons yet.
Text me.
Okay.
Yeah, if you need me, don't email me, text me or Facebook me.
There you go. Okay, so then the last thing that I like to do, confronting old parts of you that you need to move on from. So what things do you need to leave behind to get to be the person that you want to be, to reach your goals? What limiting beliefs am I holding on to? What is no longer serving you that you can let go of? So an example of limiting beliefs that I probably have all of these. Watching too much TV on off time because you like to zone out. This job makes you want to zone out when you're off. Alcohol dependence, another one. Poor diet choices, destructive internal thoughts, insecurity, scarcity mindset, too little rest. I mean, these are all things that we do, a lot of people do, and you're sabotaging yourself right there.
I can't wait. Another one we're going to do is some mindset training.
Yeah.
I've worked a lot on this over the years, and I come and go from it, but every time that I do it consistently,
you make it rain.
The output that I do is insane.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I get away from, because almost like,
almost why do you start drinking again?
Right.
It's one thing. It's one day, one time, and then you get put back in your old patterns because you always want to go back to what was comfortable, even if it was bad for you.
Right. So it takes a lot of repetition, and even when things are going good, you're like, oh, things are going good, I can take the foot off the gas, or I can go back to a little bit of my old ways. You end up backsliding all the way back to your old habits.
It's really hard to get back.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Good podcast. Okay, so when you decide, like when you look back and you look at how you've been holding yourself back, just think, what can I do instead?
Right.
Like we talked about, if drinking. So I quit drinking. I had to come up with other ways to cope with it, and it was silly stuff. I would chug a bottle of water when I was getting overly stressed out. I'd go for a walk, make mocktails. Yeah, I'd take sparkling water with some lemon. You can barely tell that there's not any vodka in it. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Poor diet choices, meal plan on Sunday. Get it together so that you can just grab your lunch. And I eat at my desk a lot.
Or if you're going to eat out, just try to find places that have healthy options.
And most of them do. You just have to ask for it. It's just hard to ask when there's cheese on everything to say leave off the cheese. But you can eat a healthy meal at every restaurant in the planet. So it is what it is. It's your choices.
Right.
And that's part of the whole thing too with goal setting, is that every day you make choices, whether you're going to stick to it or you're not.
And the thing is, it's not a quantity of food, it's the quality of food that's the most important. Yeah. Quantity is a whole different ballgame, and we're talking about body composition. But if we're talking about your productivity and your body running on full steam, it's the quality of what you're bringing in.
Yes.
And so a lot of people try to do quantity and quality all at once, and then they get screwed.
So this is like,
eat as much as you want when you're going healthy. Yes. And then you can dial in the portion control.
We like to go back to food because of the gym.
We love food.
We love food, and we love food. But so this is part of, something that we say in loans, with our diets, with everything. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
And that's life.
And then you got to smell it.
Oh, God. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is that how we'll end this podcast?
I guess so. What
would you do without me? Just to keep you entertained.
Entertained?
Yeah.
That's what you want to call it.
That's what I call it.
So now that we are all, have our goals ready for the new year, we have our 8-week intensive live thing in the masterclass.
Yep.
So it's free for anybody that's in the masterclass. And we're going to do weekly live calls. We are going to show you step by step how we have done everything.
Yeah, we're actually doing it with you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have an action item every single day of what you can work on within your business to improve your marketing, improve your systems, improve everything about it. And then we'll do live calls every Tuesday, every Tuesday, and answer any questions that anyone has about the implementation of these strategies. So a to-do item every day of the week, Monday through Friday, for 2 months, 8 weeks.
Yes. And if you are in the masterclass, if you go into the branding course, there is a whole goal setting section in there, a sheet. So you can just download it. You can print it out however you want to go through it. And it breaks everything down for you.
Yes.
So then you can refer
And this
back
is
to
our
all
first time doing the live implementation. So this is just a fun experiment. We don't know if we're ever going to do this again. We might. It just really depends on how people take action, if people enjoy it. If we find that it's adding a ton of value, then maybe we'll do this again in the future.
Yes.
But this is the first one. It's going to be fun and exciting. So if you're not part of this, you're not part of the masterclass, you can just reach out to us at thelocode.com. And there's a little text widget at the bottom right, and you can just text. It goes directly to me, and you can ask me any questions that you have about this. Yeah, and if you're watching this, you have to register before January 2nd, because that's the day we start, and that's the last day we're going to allow people to come on for this one.
Yep. And if you're in the masterclass, we're going to have a whole section for this. We're week by week, so you can download. I have a calendar. I like my printables.
It's going to be pretty wild.
It's going to be great. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so awesome. So there you go. I would go below, download the PDF for the goal setting that we just talked about today, because it's going to be everything that she has here, but visual, so that you can go through this on your own time. And then on that site, there'll be somewhere to reach out to us as well if you want to message us about the 8-week live implementation workshop, or if you just have any questions in general, you can find us there on that download page. All right. Good luck for the new year. And it all comes down to planning and implementation.
Yes. Happy New Year.